Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Odyssey. My name's Jason and today I'm back at you with another video on Bitcoin and XRP. We're going to be breaking down both charts simultaneously since we have some interesting comparisons to be made. If you enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for future videos. I'm pumping out these videos on a daily basis for you guys, so if you enjoy the content, smash that like button. Much love, and let's get on with the analysis for today. Jumping onto the daily chart, we have a Fibonacci retracement along with these three yellow circles. Looking at the XRP chart, we have exactly the same thing, and I'm going to be breaking down these two charts to see what comparisons can be made that could give us some indication as to where XRP might be going moving forward. Looking at the Bitcoin chart, Bitcoin had a high, two highs in fact, one on the 17th of December and another on the 19th of January. On the first high on the 17th of December, we came down and retraced exactly to this 0.5 level, which is around 91,900. We then had another high and ultimately came down and retested this region. We then bounced, didn't quite go as far, made a lower high, and then ultimately we broke down and hit the floor. We then had this Trump pump when he burped, in other words, made a tweet, and Bitcoin ended up retracing back to the 0.5. However, it could not hold it as support and ultimately came down and formed this low at the 74k level. This was after we found resistance at the 0.382. Again, we're playing the levels here. We're tracking each move step by step, and from that we're basing our analysis. Now, looking at the XRP chart, we have a similar story. We have this breakout, which gives us a high, and then we came back down. Ultimately, we did not find that much support until we found support on this 382 level. If we look at the Bitcoin chart, we can see that we almost found support at the 0.382 level. It's not perfectly in alignment, but it gave us the fuel to make another high. What we see here with XRP is that when we found support on this 382 level, we then made a high up to this 3.3 level. Where did we go next? That is where this comparison really has some meat. If we look here, we found that Bitcoin was flirting with the 0.5 on these three occasions. Once it broke it to the downside, that's when it formed this low here. Now, the story is similar with XRP. Unfortunately, XRP was unable to hold this 50 level and broke it to the downside. The same is with Bitcoin. Although it held it during the tariff dump, it ultimately crashed to the bottom. And the same is here with XRP. It found resistance not only once, but twice before breaking down and forming its low. Bitcoin was able to form this double bottom. Now, it's a bit of an unusual double bottom since we have a lower low. However, a double bottom does not necessarily have to be picture perfect where you have a higher low or an equal low. There is some room for discrepancies there. However, we first made this move back in March to the 382 level and ultimately could not break it as resistance. That's when we came back down to form another low. It isn't until the 22nd of April that we were able to break out of this 382 level. We did find it as resistance for one day, and then on the 22nd we broke out. If we look at XRP, when we had this down move, we almost got to the 382 level and then we came back down. Right now, we have found resistance on it as of Wednesday, the 23rd. The same could be said of Monday, the 21st, when Bitcoin was ultimately rejected here. However, the next candle on Tuesday, the 22nd, we saw a breakout. Whereas on the 23rd, because XRP is lagging behind Bitcoin, as it typically does, we found it as resistance. Are we going to see a breakout of this 382 level? Quite possibly. Simply being because Bitcoin was experiencing the same thing back here, just like XRP was finding this point as resistance. It could be the case that XRP will rally up to this 0.5 level, which is lining up with our previous points as resistance, as we saw here with these 3 touch points. Now, Bitcoin has found this 0.5 level as support to the T. So it could be the case that XRP could even overshoot here and come up to just under the 0.618 and retest this 0.5 level as support. That's what I'm predicting may well happen. This is because if we look at this pattern here, it seems that XRP is forming an inverse head and shoulders. Now, an inverse head and shoulders is a bullish pattern. It is a reversal pattern to the upside, whereas a normal regular head and shoulders is a bearish pattern to the downside. And looking at this pattern as of present, if we get it perfectly here, it does look like we have broken out and are now finding support at the neckline, which is wonderful to see. On top of that, we are seeing this Dragonfly Doji bullish hammer forming on the daily, which is powerful. This is telling us that people are buying this up. Okay, this long wick to the downside is bullish pressure. People are buying. If we have a candle with a long wick to the upside, that is selling pressure. That means people are selling. There are more sellers in the market than there are buyers. However, that's not what we're seeing right now. We're seeing more buyers in the market. To measure the move of this breakout, we would go from the head, which is the low point, to the neckline. And if we draw it from the point of the neckline, then we could see that the target point for this pattern is around this 2.9 level, as I've mentioned before. Let's just draw that line. Now, it isn't necessarily lining up with our fibs. However, it is lining up where we found resistance prior, which was when Trump came out with his tweet about XRP being part of the crypto reserve. There is some confluence there. If that happens, then we could see a move. It will be a technical target from this inverse head and shoulders, which we are soon to confirm. We've already had one daily candle as a confirmation. Now, if we close this evening with another daily candle above the neckline, that'll be 2 daily candles signifying a technical target to 2.9. If that happens, that will also align with what Bitcoin is doing, because Bitcoin is also forming a similar candle, this bullish hammer. So if XRP is going to be doing the same thing as Bitcoin did, where it breaks out of the 0.382, just falls shy of our 0.618 and finds support at 0.5, then we will see this move come into fruition. And the 0.5 is actually lining up with this point here, which is where we found resistance. If we can flip that resistance as support, as we are doing right now with Bitcoin, then essentially it's price targets to the upside. However, it won't just be an arrow move to the upside. Although XRP does like to do that, as we saw with the Trump pump over here, what is likely to happen is this kind of fluctuation where we find support on our Fibonacci levels and ultimately reach our technical target of 2.9. That's what I have in store for you folks today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe for future videos. On this channel, we talk about all things crypto, whether it be market updates, technical analysis, macro perspectives. I'm going to be covering other cryptocurrencies like ADA, Solana, Sui. If you have any suggestions, put them in the comment section down below. I know people have been asking me to make some videos on ADA, on Sui, so I'll get round to doing that. I just thought I'd give you this update on XRP because it looks like it might be following the same moves that Bitcoin did. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.